In the early days of the jet age, the aeronautical engineers at de Havilland produced an extraordinary type, second only to the famous Gloucester Meteor, the Vampire. This iconic aircraft was not only the second fighter jet to join the Royal Air Force, but was also the first aircraft to be powered by a single jet engine. The post-World War II era brought revolutionary changes in the world of aviation, marked by the emergence of jet propulsion technology. One of the pioneers of this transformative period was de Havilland, a British aviation company that introduced the world to the legendary Vampire jet. British fighter jet developed and manufactured by the de Havilland Aircraft Company. It was the second fighter jet operated by the RAF after the Gloucester Meteor, and the first to be powered by a single jet engine. Development of the Vampire as an experimental aircraft began in 1941 during the Second World War to take advantage of the revolutionary innovation of jet propulsion. From company design studies, it was decided to use a single-engine, twin-boom aircraft powered by a Halford H-1 turbojet, later produced as the Goblin. Apart from the propulsion system and twin-boom configuration, the aircraft is relatively conventional. In May 1944, it was decided to produce the aircraft as an interceptor for the Royal Air Force. In 1946, the Vampire entered operational service with the RAF, just months after the end of the war. The Vampire quickly proved effective and was adopted as a replacement for wartime piston-engined fighters. During its initial service, the aircraft achieved several first flights and achieved various records, such as being the first jet aircraft to cross the Atlantic Ocean. The Vampire remained in RAF frontline service until 1953, when its transfer began to secondary roles such as ground attack and pilot training, for which specialist variants were produced. The RAF retired the Vampire in 1966, when his final role as advanced trainer was filled by Folland Gnat. The Royal Navy has also adapted the type as the Sea Vampire, a naval variant suitable for operations from aircraft carriers. It was the service's first fighter jet. Vampire was exported to many countries and operated worldwide in various theaters and climates. Several countries used this type in combat, including the Suez Crisis, the Malayan Emergency, and the Rhodesian Bush War. By the end of production, nearly 3,300 Vampires had been produced, a quarter of which were produced under license overseas. De Havilland pursued further development of this type. Major derivatives produced included the .115 Dirhams, a two-seat special trainer, and the more advanced .112 Dirhams Venom, a variant enhanced for ground attack and night fighter operations. One of the most remarkable features of the de Havilland Vampire is its reliance on a single jet engine. These innovations set him apart from his contemporaries and earned him a special place in aviation history. Before the Vampire, most jet aircraft relied on multiple engines for propulsion. The Vampire's single-engine design not only simplifies maintenance, but also reduces production costs, making it an economical choice for the Royal Air Force, RAF, and other air forces around the world. In 1945, the de Havilland Vampire made its first flight, and in 1946, it became the second jet fighter adopted by the RAF after the Gloucester Meteor. This marked the beginning of a long and illustrious career for the Vampire in military service. The Vampire quickly proved his mettle, demonstrating impressive performance and agility, which endeared him to the pilots. One of the Vampire's strengths is its versatility. Although originally a fighter aircraft, it was soon adapted for a variety of roles, including ground attack, reconnaissance, and even training. Its adaptability makes it a valuable asset for air forces that need a multi-role aircraft capable of handling a variety of missions effectively. Outside of its RAF service, the Vampire became a popular export aircraft, with many countries around the world acquiring and operating them. This global reach cemented its reputation as one of the most iconic jet aircraft of its time. These aircraft played an important role in post-war air forces and contributed to the development of modern aviation. Sir Henry Tizard made an informal approach to the de Havilland Aircraft Company, suggesting that the company was proceeding to design a fighter aircraft that would use the revolutionary new jet propulsion technology then under development, along with an appropriate engine to go with it. Although no official specification had been issued, de Havilland continued to design a single-engined aircraft that had air intakes set into the wing roots to feed a centrally mounted engine, which used a centrifugal compressor. The aero engine designer Major Frank Halford had been given access to Frank Whittle's pioneering work on gas turbines, which, for the projected jet-powered fighter, Halford decided to proceed with the design of a straight-through centrifugal engine capable of generating 3,000 pounds of thrust, which was considered to be high at the time. Halford's engine emerged as the Halford H-1. By April 1941, design work on the engine had been completed, and a prototype H-1 engine performed its first test run 1 year later. The low power output of the early jet engines had meant that only twin-engined aircraft designs were considered to be practical. As more powerful jet engines were quickly developed, particularly Halford's H-1, later known as the de Havilland Goblin, the practicalities of single-engine jet fighters were soon realized. De Havilland was close to producing an airframe for the H-1 as insurance against Germany, using jet bombers against Britain. This was considered more important than de Havilland's suggestion of a high-speed jet bomber. Its first design, the DH-99, was set out in a brochure dated the 6th of June 1941. It was an all-metal twin-boom tricycle undercarriage aircraft armed with 4 cannons. The use of a twin boom enabled the jet pipe to be kept relatively short, which avoided the power loss that would have occurred if a long pipe was used, as would have been necessary in a conventional fuselage. It also puts the tailplane clear of interference from the exhaust. The DH-99 design was quickly modified to incorporate combined wood and metal construction based on recommendations from MAP. The design was later renumbered the DH-100 in November 1941. The aircraft was considered an experimental design due to its use of a single engine and several unusual features, unlike the Gloucester Meteor, which had been designated for production from the start. In February 1942, MAP advised against the bomber project, but de Havilland stated that the twin explosions, despite doubts from the ministry, were simply a technical problem that had to be overcome. On the 22nd of April 1942, construction of 2 prototypes, Series LZ-548 and LZ-551, was authorized by the ministry, while Specification E-641 was produced and issued to cover the work. The company resumed the detailed design work phase of the DH-100 in early 1942. On the 13th of May 1944, an initial production order for 120 Vampire Mk-1 aircraft was received and quickly increased to 300 aircraft. Production of the Vampire Mk-1 did not fly until April 1945. Due to wartime pressure on de Havilland's production facilities for existing aircraft types, British Electric Aircraft undertook production of the Vampire at their factory at Preston in Lancashire. The company will continue to produce the majority of the aircraft. Only around half a dozen production aircraft had been built by the end of the Second World War, although this did not result in the type falling victim to the massive post-war cutbacks that were soon implemented, which had halted production of many aircraft, along with development work on several others. De Havilland initiated a private venture night fighter, the .113 Durhams intended for export, equipped with a 2-seat cockpit similar to the Mosquito night fighter and a longer nose accommodating an AIMK between the gamble of the de Havilland Mosquito night fighter and the full introduction of the Meteor night fighter. The removal of the radar from the night fighter and the installation of dual controls resulted in a jet trainer model, the .115 Durham's Vampire, which entered British service as the T-11 Vampire. This trainer variant was built in large numbers for the RAF and for export.